Speak Your Truth, a poetry podcast.
Episode 2, Naming the Storm, Understanding Depression. Welcome back to Speak Your Truth, the poetry podcast. In episode 1, we explored how poetry can heal and hold us, how words can sit beside pain without trying to fix it, how a poem can be a place to rest when life feels sharp and unsteady. Today, we step a little further inward. We're talking about depression. Not the buzzword, not the checkbox, the lived experience. The quiet heaviness that settles into the body. The mornings that feel heavier than they should. The smiles that work overtime. The exhaustion that sleep just does not cure. The way the world can feel muted, distant, or unbearably loud all at once. This isn't a clinical conversation. I'm not here to diagnose. I'm not here to replace therapy, medicine, or professional care. If you are struggling and need support, please reach for it. There is strength in asking for help. What we are doing here is something different. This is more of a general reflection, a poetic conversation about what it feels like to live beneath heavy skies, about carrying invisible weight, about the loneliness that exists even in full rooms, about the way depression can whisper lies that sound like truth, and about poetry. Because sometimes, when language fails us in everyday speech, poetry steps in. Sometimes a line written by someone else gives us words we didn't know how to say. Sometimes writing our own becomes a small candle in a very dark room. Not a cure, not a miracle, just enough light to remind us we are still here. If you are listening today and you already feel seen, I want you to know this episode is for you. You don't have to analyze, you don't have to perform healing, you don't have to be okay. Just listen. Let the words meet you where you are. Depression often moves like weather. Some days it settles in as a fog, thick, slow, disorienting. You can still move, still function, but everything feels blurred around the edges. Decisions take longer, joy feels distant. You're present, yet somehow not fully there. Other days it arrives as a downpour, heavy, relentless, loud in the silence. Thoughts race, energy drains. The simplest tasks feel impossible. You brace yourself, hoping it'll pass, unsure how long you can stand it. And sometimes it comes quietly. No thunder, no warning. Just a subtle shift in the air. A heaviness you can't quite name at first, until suddenly the world feels muted and far away. Colors dull, sounds soften. Even your own emotions feel like they're happening behind glass. This is often how depression works. It doesn't always announce itself. It gathers slowly, invisibly, until one day you realize the storm has been here for a while. Naming it matters. Saying to yourself, this is depression. It's not weakness. It's not giving in. It's courage. It's standing in the middle of the storm and saying, something is happening here and I see it. It's choosing awareness over denial, truth over silence. Because when we name what we're experiencing, we stop blaming ourselves for the weather. And poetry helps us do that. When our own words feel too heavy, poetry carries some of the weight. It gives us language when ordinary speech collapses. It allows us to describe what feels impossible to explain. The grayness that lingers, the pressure in your chest, the endless night that stretches on without answers. Through poetry, we don't fix the storm. We can simply describe it. And sometimes being able to say what it feels like is the first break in the clouds. When you're living inside depression, ordinary sentences can feel flat. You may know what you feel, but the language available to you feels thin, inadequate at times. Simple explanations fall apart, conversations stall. Even saying, I'm not okay, can feel like it misses the truth entirely. Poetry works different. A poem carries rhythm, and rhythm is something the heart recognizes before the mind does. It moves at the pace of breath. It pauses where the body needs to pause. Lines break the way breathing breaks when emotions are heavy or uncertain. In poetry, you don't have to explain everything. Metaphors step in where logic fails. Images hold what the mind can't fully explain. A feeling becomes a weather pattern. A thought becomes an object. A moment becomes something you can see, touch, or carry. Poetry gives shape to the shapeless, form to the invisible. To write a poem isn't to solve what you're feeling. It's to place it somewhere outside of yourself, even briefly. To see it on the page, to recognize it without being swallowed by it. To say, this is what it looks like today. Reading poetry does something similar. When you encounter a line that mirrors your inner world, something softens. You realize someone else has been here. Someone else has felt this exact weight and found words for it. That recognition alone can feel like complete relief. Consider this simple image. My sadness is a stone I keep in my pocket. It's small, plain, but did you feel the weight of it? It suggests consistency. It suggests something that moves with you. Something you don't always notice until your body aches from carrying it. In one line, a complicated, emotional truth becomes something understandable. That is the power of poetry. It doesn't solve the sadness. It doesn't make promises it can't keep. But it helps you carry what you're holding. It distributes the weight. It gives you a way to live with and without being crushed. And sometimes that is more than enough. Here's a poem I wrote for anyone walking through their own gray morning, for the days that begin heavy, for the moments when getting out of bed feels like an act of quiet bravery. It's not about fixing the darkness, it's about standing inside it and noticing that something in you is still moving. The sky has forgotten color, washed thin like a memory worn soft by time. A single crow sketches silence across the chilled air, its wings cutting the quiet into manageable pieces. Inside, my breath feels borrowed, counted carefully, like change in a pocket. A slow tide that barely reaches shore, never quite arriving, never fully retreating. The room holds a pale kind of light, heavy, unmoving. It presses against my chest, asks nothing, offers no comfort. Thoughts drift without direction, unfinished sentences, names I almost remember. Hope feels distant, not gone, just far enough to ache. Yet even here, in the stillness of this gray morning, something refuses to stop. A heartbeat continues, steady, unimpressed by my doubt, stubborn as a drum echoing in an empty hall. It reminds me I'm still here, still breathing, still carrying warmth beneath the cold. And though I can't see the sun, though the sky gives no evidence of mercy, I trust it waits, patient, beyond the cloud, doing what it has always done, rising, even when I cannot. When the storm feels endless, it's important to remember that survival doesn't have to look heroic. Some days, simply staying is the work. Start by naming what you feel. You don't need full sentences. You don't need insight. One word is enough. Heavy, fog, tired, numb. Writing it down isn't about fixing the feeling. It's about acknowledging it. When we name what is happening inside us, we stop fighting shadows and start dealing with something real. Reach outward when you can. Depression often tells us to isolate, to pull inward, to disappear quietly. Gently pushing against that urge matters. Share a poem with someone you trust. Send a line that resonated. Or read something written by another human who has stood in a similar place. Borrowing words is still connection. You don't have to explain yourself to be understood. Breathe with intention. Choose a stanza. Read it slowly. Let each line guide your breath. Inhale as the line begins. Exhale as it ends. Don't rush. Let the rhythm do the work for you. It's not meditation in the traditional sense. It's more of a grounding. It's letting language anchor your body when your thoughts feel unsteady. Lower the bar. On dark days, self-care is not about transformation. It's about maintenance. Drinking water, stepping into sunlight for a moment, sitting with a poem instead of scrolling. These aren't small things when the weight is heavy. Keep in mind, none of these things erase depression. They are not cures. They are not solutions. But they are acts of care. Small, deliberate reminders that you are still here, that you are worthy of gentleness, that even inside the storm, you are choosing to tend to yourself. And sometimes that choice is everything. Depression thrives in silence. It feeds on isolation, on the belief that what you're carrying is too much, too strange, too heavy to be shared. It convinces you that staying quiet is safer, that keeping everything inside will protect you or others. But to be honest, silence is where the weight grows. When you share even a fragment of your story, something shifts. It doesn't have to be the whole truth. It doesn't have to be polished. Sometimes it just takes a few lines of a poem, a sentence spoken softly, a feeling named out loud. That small act is enough to break the silence. And when that silence breaks, that's when connection begins. Someone else may hear their own heartbeat in yours. They may recognize themselves in your words. They may feel less lonely simply because you were willing to speak. And this is how poetry works. It says, you are not the only one who has felt this. It reaches across distance and difference and lands gently in another person's chest. Poetry becomes a bridge, not a lecture, not a solution, a bridge, carrying empathy from one soul to another, allowing us to meet in the middle without needing answers, without needing to be fixed, just present, just human. And in that shared space, something subtle happens. Hope doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't demand attention. It grows quietly in the understanding, in the recognition, in the simple relief of being seen. Connection doesn't erase depression, but it does weaken its grip. It reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we are still part of something larger, that our voice matters, that our stories, even in fragments, have the power to reach someone else. And sometimes, that quiet exchange is enough to keep us going. Thank you for sitting with me in this episode of Speak Your Truth, a poetry podcast. Thank you for giving this time to yourself, for listening, for staying present, even if parts of this conversation felt heavy or close to home. That choice alone matters more than you might realize. If you're living through your own gray morning right now, I want you to remember this. Storms do pass. Even when we can't see the sun. Even when the sky offers no proof. Even when hope feels like a memory instead of a feeling. The light does not disappear just because it's hidden. Hold close to the words that come for you. Let them be your anchors. Let them be reminders that you are not alone in what you're feeling. Read poems that feel honest. Return to the lines that make you feel understood. Write if you can. And if you can't write, that's okay too. Listening counts. Breathing counts. Being here counts. Your presence here matters. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Even on the days it feels unfinished or unclear. Until next time, stay grounded, stay grateful, and always, always speak your truth.